Yo, welcome back to another episode of Please Be Happy. Um, I forgot what I was gonna say. Oh well,
Ugh, already? Okay, let me grab my keys.
apparently I'm only 63% of the way through. Or, actually, I should be nearing the end because there's other routes. We'll see. Around sundown that evening, I grab my fishing pole and make my way out to the waterfront. Juliet agreed to look after the dog while I was gone, even though I could be out for hours. It's finally time. This morning, I got a call from Mr. Kim saying that the King of the Ocean had been spotted close by yesterday, and that he should be passing by Wellington tonight. After months of waiting, for a whole year of it in Mr. Kim's case, we'll get our chance at seeing the legendary fish. Down by the bay, there are a lot more fishers out than usual. Some have tents and chairs set up, while others only brought their gear. Mr. Kim is waiting on the pier like usual.
Good to see you, Miho. Feeling lucky today?
I sure hope so. It's packed out there.
Sure is. Tonight's one of those nights that we fishermen dream of.
How long do you think it'll be until he gets here?
Hard to say. There's a whole network of folks who watch the waters all up and down the coast, and they'll give us a ring if anyone spots him. But there's no guarantee that he'll be close enough to see. Sometimes he passes through deeper waters before coming inland somewhere else.
So, what you're saying is we could be here all night.
It's a certain possibility. Sleepiness has ended many an angler's quest to spot the king. If you have to go early, I'll understand.
Are you gonna stay out here the whole time?
If that's what it takes. Or if I hear that he skipped over us this year.
I'll stay too. I've waited this long to see him. I can't just give up at the end.
That's the spirit. I've got coffee and black tea to help keep sleep away.
Oh, see, now they're loading us with all the good CGs and stuff. Look how cute that is. Look how, top notch. We walk to the end of the pier and sit down, keeping our rods close by. I think it's also because Miho's hands are actually the correct size here. Her hands look so tiny in her normal portrait. The setting sun makes for a beautiful sky that I tilt my head up to admire. Mr. Kim does the same.
Mother Nature sure knows how to paint, doesn't she?
Mm-hmm.
It's a little chilly, especially out here on the water, and I wrap my arms around myself to stay warm.
If we don't catch him this year, will you try again next year?
Of course. And again, and again.
What if we do get him?
I think once is enough for me. Beyond that, I'll just be getting greedy. You can bet I'll still be out here, though. Even if I'm not fishing for the king.
I don't know if I'd be able to keep trying for as long as you have.
Oh? Why's that? It's easy. You just start, and then you don't stop.
Damn, those are some wise-ass words, you know? Sometimes you just gotta start, and then you don't stop. Yeah.
I'd like to catch the king, of course. But I've come to enjoy the waiting just as much. It's something to look forward to. If I miss him, I'm disappointed, of course, but it just means that I get to try for another year.
When I first started fishing, I thought all the waiting around was pretty boring. I kind of get it now, though.
There's an understanding between us fisher folk and the sea, I think. It's give and take on both sides.
What do you give to the ocean?
Time. Patience. Like any friend, it needs attention for your relationship to grow. Whether that's cleaning up garbage from the shores or teaching someone to appreciate the joys of fishing.
The two of us sat together for hours, trading stories about the places we've been. Mr. Kim tells me about the Korea he comes from, and I tell him about mine. He even pulls out a thermos of you know, they actually did say how to pronounce it, and I can't remember now. I know Korean words are actually pronounced like literally how they are spelled. Moitang? Moitang? See, when I see T-A-N-G, tang, I want to say tang, like in Chinese. So, one second. You know what? I can't not do this properly. Yeah, I'm literally Googling it right now. How do I pronounce you? Oh god. Is this a good website? I'm sorry, I know we're at a complete stall now.
매운탕이 얼큰하다.
Okay, not the last part though.
매운탕이 얼큰하다.
매운탕?
매운탕이 얼큰하다. 매운탕이 얼큰하다.
매운탕. Yeah. So, spicy fish stew for us to share. It's as delicious as the dinner he shared with me a couple months ago. As the evening winds on, a lot of the fishers waiting by the shores gradually get up and go home. I guess they must be getting tired of waiting. Mr. Kim and I pass some of the time by fishing for other things, or walking around to give our legs a break. As twilight starts to come to an end, my ears twitch, picking up the sounds of distant shouting. It starts off far away, probably too far for Mr. Kim to hear, but when he notices me tilting my head to listen, he walks over. The shouting starts to get louder as it gets closer. It's not one person yelling, but a chain of them, the message being carried along the coast.
He's here! They spotted the king!
All up and down the beach, the fishers are hopping to their feet and casting their lines. Some of those who were in the middle of leaving hurry back to the shore.
He's here!
Mr. Kim's voice echoes along as he passes along the news to the people on the other side.
Let's go, mijo!
Both of us cast our lines out, and I lean forward to try to get a glimpse of the fish himself.
Where is he?
He could be anywhere. Keep an eye out.
Mr. Kim shades his eyes with one hand to search around, and I can see other fishers doing the same. I wonder how far away from here the king was actually spotted. With how many people are waiting for him, the news could have come from pretty far away. The ocean looks the same as ever to me, lapping gently against the pier where we're standing. Occasionally someone reels in a normal fish, but nothing out of the ordinary. Suddenly, I notice something sparkling in the water several meters away from where we are. At first, I think it's just the trick of the light, but then it moves, disappearing and reappearing a little bit closer. I tug on Mr. Kim's shoulder to get his attention and point.
Hey, is that?
The sparkling disappears and doesn't resurface. Both of us watch with bated breath, ready to start reeling at the first sign of a bite.
There!
Mr. Kim stabs a finger towards the sea, and I watch the spot he's pointing at. Sure enough, I see that light again. This time it's close enough to see the vague shape of a fish, but not near enough to see clearly.
The king!
The glittering fish slowly comes closer, moving in short bursts. Sometimes it dashes off in another direction, then wriggles back towards us. Finally, it comes into view. The king of the ocean swims in front of us, 4 long whiskers streaming from his face. His scales are shades of beautiful blue and purple, but shine with other colors too as the sunlight hits him. He's bigger than any fish I've ever seen, but still smaller than a person. Swimming just below the surface, his top fin sometimes breaks through the water. I get a good glimpse of his big eyes as he passes us by, and the sparkle disappears as he dives down deeper on his way.
Whoa.
Whoa, indeed! I've never seen him that close before. This must be my lucky day after all.
Even though he didn't stop for us, my heart races with the thrill of seeing the king at all.
That was worth the wait.
He was so far out that I'll bet a lot of fishers on the shore didn't get to see him at all.
Glad you think so. Well, I wonder where he'll be.
Mr. Kim cuts off mid-sentence as we both see the same thing. The sparkle of the king's scales reappear near the pier. The king comes closer and closer, and then dives down again and disappears. Mr. Kim and I look at each other. I hold my breath as if moving could spook the fish. Seconds pass, then a minute, and I feel a tug.
I've got a bite!
Reel it in, mijo!
I try, but the fish on the other end is fighting back. I have to hold on tight just to avoid having the fishing rod yanked out of my hands.
I need help!
Mr. Kim comes to my side and grabs the handle too. Both of us work together to pull and reel, and slowly, I feel us start to gain ground. You can do it, mijo. The two of us brace ourselves, and then both pull as hard as we can. With a huge splash, the king breaks through the surface of the water, dangling from the end of our line. He hangs there for a moment, looking at us like he's judging us. The two of us stare back in silent awe as I realize something. The king let us win. After only a couple of seconds, he opens his mouth and spits out the lure, freeing himself and plunging back into the ocean. All that remains are ripples, and in a moment, even those are gone too. Other fishers who saw what happened start to gather around, congratulating us and cursing us. Mr. Kim handles all the praise with a smile and a laugh, while I try to stay up to the side and avoid as much attention as I can. It takes a while for the crowd to disperse before finally leaving us alone.
Well, mijo, we did it!
7 years of good luck.
Yeah. I can't believe he came back to us.
Maybe he didn't like the look of what they were serving farther up the shore. Either way, thanks for helping an old dream come true.
I ought to thank you. Besides, we reeled him in together.
That we did. That we did. My wife will never believe it. I guess that's what I get for exaggerating about the size of some of my past catches.
Not about the size, Mr. Kim. Because, I'm not even gonna finish that sentence.
That's alright, though. You and I will both know the truth.
Yeah. Plus the 7 years of good luck, right?
Oh, that's true. I'd almost forgotten. Maybe it'll only be 3.5 for each of us, though. I'd say that's more than enough.
Yeah, me too.
The sun has fully gone down by the time Mr. Kim and I pack up to go home. Before he climbs onto his bike, he gives me one last wave.
Well, we won't be preparing for the king, but will I see you down at the fishing spot again?
Of course! I've still got a whole lot more to learn.
That's the spirit. Until next time, mijo.
See you later!
See, this is way better than the kids' divorce problems. When I wake up, the dog is already awake and staring at me from the floor, ready to go. The two of us go downstairs and join Juliet for breakfast, where she prepared another bowl of fruit and bread for the dog. Can they eat that? I don't know what dogs... I'm not going to Google it. He eats it, but even if he's only going to be here for a couple of days, he'll need more than people food.
I think I'm gonna go buy some dog food for him. I can get that at most stores, right?
Yes, it shouldn't be difficult to find.
I wonder if New Zealand has a Costco. Never been to a Costco, but that's kind of like the holy grail of places for me to join. Yeah. I check my wallet. I have plenty of money since Julia pays me for my library work, but there's hardly ever anything I need to buy myself. This will be a good as use as any.
Do you mind watching him while I go?
Not at all.
Thanks!
I kneel down and pet the dog's head. I've already learned one of his favorite spots, right at the base of his ears, and give him a good scratch.
Okay, stay here with Juliet, alright?
I really am turning into Aspen, with how much I talk to the dog. Although he stays put for a moment, He follows me to the front door before I can leave. I gently push him back with my foot.
No, you can't come with me.
The dog paws at my leg, looking at me expectantly. Once more, I let him outside to relieve himself, but even after he finishes that, he won't go back into the library without me.
You're not gonna take no for an answer, are you?
Sighing, I accept my fate. I let Juliet know about the change of plans, and then the dog and I start walking. People have talked to me before about like cat people and dog people, right? Because like they say that the opposite personality type attracts. So like if you like cats more, you're probably like a dog personality, and then if you like dogs more, you're a cat personality. Yeah, apparently like so in my case, I like cats, which means that I'm probably like a dog, you know, loyal, needy, all that, all the above, whatever. He stays near me, sometimes going off the path to sniff something, but he always returns. Each time he starts to walk away, I feel a tinge of worry that he won't come back. But that possibility is just something that I have to accept. Even if some details of my past have gone hazy for me, I can still remember how it feels to need to run and escape. If the dog decides that's what he needs to do, then it's not my place to stop him. Still, I'm relieved every time he stops sniffing and returns to my side. Eventually, we get into town and I find a pet store. There's a sign on the window saying that dogs are allowed inside, which is what I'm hoping for. The bell rings when we walk in, although it doesn't sound as pretty as the one in the Bell House. I wander around until I find the dog food section. Oh, my voice is giving out on me again. It's been a rough week, boys. There are more choices here than I thought. Big bags, small bags, red bags, blue bags. I'm not sure which one to pick. Yeah, and then there's all the flavors, nutrients. That'll be aware of brand awareness if they're like actually good for dogs or not. I'm assuming it's the same thing for like dogs as it is for cats. The dog sniffs each one of them in turn. I watch to see if one gets his interest more than the others, but it doesn't seem like he's picky. I try to find which one has the most similar looking dog on the front. Listen, mijo. You have the right idea. You have the right spirit. But maybe you should have asked Aspen for help on this one.
Guess I'll go with this one.
On the way to the front, the dog veers off down another aisle, and I follow behind to see what got its attention. Of course, it's the toy aisle. Just like the food section, there are dozens on display. He sniffs them all, even more furiously than the kibble. There's a small basket of plastic toys on the ground, and he pulls one out with his mouth. It looks like a cartoon squirrel, and its tail squeaks when he bites it. He gives it a good shake, getting a few more squeaks in the process. His tail wags even faster than his head, and he looks up at me eagerly. I reach for the toy, but he hops away and then crouches down, tail still going, daring me to try and take it again. I do, but he instantly jumps out of reach once more, shaking and squeaking the toy again too.
Okay, you can keep it. But come on, I gotta pay.
It's been a long time since I've stolen anything, not that I can actually pay for things. I can't see myself stealing again. I kind of feel guilty about things I took in the past, but I only did whatever I had to in order to survive. Once I had support from others in my life, and the help I needed to get my feet on the ground, stealing stopped being something I felt like I had to do. At the counter, I use 2 fingers to hold a slobbery toy so the cashier can scan it, before returning it to the dog. I tuck the bag of food under one arm, and we start walking home. Guess you got a reasonable bag of food, because the bags I used to get were huge. I would not be able to carry that all the way home. We reach a crossroad, arriving right as the light changes to send traffic across our path. I come to a halt while I wait, switching which arm I use to carry the bag since it's getting sore. But the puppy doesn't stop with me. Instead, he doesn't even look back as he runs out into the road, eager to get back to the library. A car horn blares at it as it barrels towards us down the road, too close to be at a break in time. Are you serious? I feel like I'm moving in slow motion as I drop the bag of food and dash out into the road, despite knowing how dumb that is. I grab the dog as I sprint by, barely hauling ourselves out of the way of the passing car. The driver understandably gives me a rude gesture as he goes by. The dog, meanwhile, looks at me as if offended by the rough treatment, with my hand still holding him tightly.
You dummy! You could have died right there!
Hank. Yeah. Jeez. I'm more worried about you, mijo. Jeez. Both of you could have gotten isekai'd right there. The squirrel toy in his mouth squeaks as he squirms in my grasp. That was way too close for comfort. If I had been just one step further away, I would have been too late to rescue the dog. I probably would have gotten myself hit for my troubles too. Behind us and across the street, the bag of food lies on its side, some kibble strewn across the ground from a spot where it tore when I dropped it. Whether the dog wants to run away or stay with me is up to him. I can't just let him get himself hurt or worse. I only have one choice. I hoist the dog up and hold him with one arm, just like the dog food bag that I go back and retrieve before we start walking again. Yeah, you need a leash. Why didn't you get that at the pet store? He doesn't squirm as much as he did yesterday, which helps a lot. But still, by the time we make it back to the library, both my arms feel like they're ready to fall off. When I set the dog down, he strolls up to the library door as if nothing happened, waiting for me to let him in. I guess in his mind, maybe nothing did happen. He's got no clue how lucky he was. A long time ago, Juliet said that sometimes your best is all you can do. That goes for puppies too. If I had been born a city dog instead of a fox, I doubt I'd be much different either. Still, I have to think that it's a miracle that any dog makes it to adulthood, especially strays like him. When it's finally time for my meeting, Juliet helps me get set up on her computer and then lets me take it to my room. I adjust the screen until I can see it properly, and then I wait. My nervousness keeps building until I nearly jump when the call finally comes through. As the ringtone plays, I take a deep breath and then hit accept. A tiny person-shaped bubble on the notification disappears, and for a second there's just a black screen. Then a woman appears. When the image comes into focus, she's squinting at the screen, probably waiting just like me. And then she smiles and waves as she's able to see me.
Hello.
Hi, I'm Miho. Nice to meet you. Thanks for talking to me.
I'm Minsa. No problem. Gotta say, I was shocked when I got your friend's email at first. I thought it was gonna turn out to be some kind of scam and eventually she'd ask for money. I'm still a bit confused though. So you were friends with my ancestor?
Yeah, long story, huh?
Sort of. I met them when I was really young. I was just a regular fox back then.
Wait. A fox, like with 4 legs and pointy ears?
Yeah. After I met Jung-in, I turned into the person I am today.
Whoa. So that was a long time ago, huh? But you look even younger than me. Oh, that's just not fair.
Trust me, it has its downsides.
Both of us laugh. I can't help but be relieved that she already feels easy to talk to.
That explains a lot, at least. So, Jong-in. You're the second person to ask me about them this year, you know? That's 2 times more than most years.
Who was the first?
These guys at some archaeological society who are putting on an exhibition. They wanted permission to display some of their old works.
Are you the only family they have?
The only one who can use a computer, at least. The only reason I know any of the history is because I had to. Should I tell you everything I know and then you can ask me any questions? No promises if I'll be able to answer them, though.
Sure, that works for me.
Let's see. Well, I'm not related to them by blood, for one thing. They didn't have any kids of their own.
Huh. I guess they adopted.
But they got married and they and their wife adopted several children. I'm related to one of those kids.
Cool.
They were part of the Young Bun class, a noble and a scholar.
Oh man, dude. That's like I'm already out of depth in like learning about my own culture. Oh man. Yikes.
But rather than be stuck at home suffering through court life, they hid their identity and snuck away to travel the world instead.
Minso speaks with a practiced tone, like she's given this speech a few times. Why am I like seeing words that don't exist there? Still, I listen with rapt attention, memorizing every detail.
They spent years on the go, seeing everything they could, before finally coming back home to Korea to settle down and start a family. While they were away, they kept a journal and wrote letters back to their beloved. Although calligraphy was something they were taught from a young age, they began practicing as an artist during their travels. Sometimes, the letters they sent would include paintings of the things they'd seen, or they'd include little drawings in their journal. Something else that they started to do was give a note to the people they met on their journey, with a little message of appreciation or wishes. My husband always says they remind him of fortune cookies.
Oh, I actually have one of those scrolls myself.
I brought my scroll down from my room just in case it came up like this. I unfurl it for the first time since Halloween. Please be happy. I turn the scroll around and hold it up to the camera so Minso can see. She leans in again, looking close.
Yeah, that's definitely theirs, all right. And they gave it to you when you were just a fox?
Yeah. Although, I couldn't read it until a couple months ago.
God, it's so hard to read their handwriting, right? I'm like, if they were born today, they totally would have been a doctor. I have a few of them myself, although they're up in the office. Grandma has like 90. She says she has one for every year she's been alive, and I definitely believe that.
Jeez, that's a lot. How many did they give out altogether?
Who knows? If someone told me it was thousands, I'd believe them. I don't know if they gave one to every person they met, but it must have been close.
Huh. I thought mine must be pretty rare.
It's still special. However many there were, I'm sure most haven't lasted this long. Not everyone got a full scroll either. But, no. They're not some priceless artifacts that'll sell for a ton of money or something.
That's not what Miho was thinking anyway.
Otherwise, I'd be talking to you from my mansion by the beach.
That's fine. I'd never sell mine anyway. It's way too important to me.
Yeah, I figured. I'm sure it wasn't easy to keep it safe and in such good condition.
Yeah, hundreds of years.
That's for sure. We've been through a lot together.
That's good. I'm sure that's what they would have wanted.
For a while, Minso tells me more about Chongying's travels. Even though it's hard for me to picture some of the people and places involved, I still pay close attention. Then, all of a sudden, Minso's eyes go wide like she's had some huge revelation.
Oh, I'm an idiot! Hold on, I'll be right back. I have to show you.
She gets up and runs off screen, leaving me with a view of an empty chair and a bookshelf. Instead, I look down at my scroll. Somehow, I'd always assumed it was one of a kind, or at least something rare and meaningful. But somehow, finding out that's not the case doesn't really bother me. Instead, it's nice to think that they met so many people to be grateful to, or have left an impact on them. If there were thousands of scrolls out like mine out there, then that's not a bad thing after all. Wait, then that's not a bad thing at all. After a few seconds, Minso returns to the computer and sits down, carrying a scroll herself.
This is one that I had in the office. I can't believe I didn't think about this sooner. Sometimes, they'd include a butterfly in their signature or hide one in their paintings because they said they were inspired by butterflies to travel with the wind. But then, at some point, instead of butterflies, they started to include something else instead. Can you see her?
She holds the scroll up to her camera like I did, focused on one of the bottom corners. It's a fox. There, just below where they signed their name, it's a little picture of a fox. Of me?
I should have thought of it when you mentioned foxes earlier. At one point, they started using the alias Horim for their work. I don't know if you speak any Korean, but Horim means fox forest. After they started using that name, foxes would show up in their art for the rest of their life.
The drawings consist of just a few brush strokes that make a head and ears and face. Still, it feels like seeing a photograph of myself. I can picture them smiling as they drew it, as they thought of me. I'd always wondered if our time together was as important to them as it was to me. Hearing that they chose that name practically confirms it.
Thanks for showing me.
I can feel the threat of tears. Yeah, so can I! But somehow I managed to keep my composure.
No problem. Grandma's gonna freak out when I tell her I talked to you. I've told you basically all I know, but were there any questions you had?
Yeah, I did have one. I'm a little afraid to know, but
I take a deep breath. They were human, so my question is only natural, but still. Exhaling, I make myself ask.
how'd they die?
Minso smiles.
Old and peacefully. Their wife outlived them, but not by too long. They had the typical funeral that was expected when they passed away, but then they actually had one final secret request to their family. They wanted to be cremated. Back then, it was basically unheard of, especially for someone of their stature. But they really wanted it to be done so that they could have their ashes scattered. That way, the wind could pick them up, and they could keep traveling forever.
So then... it sounds like they were happy.
Oh yeah. They told their kids that they had no regrets, because they'd live as full and rewarding a life as they could.
I'm afraid that if I try to say too much, I'll start to cry. Yeah, me too, kid. So I just nod instead while I try to find my voice.
I'm glad to know that.
Of course, of course. It's only right that you know, considering how many foxes showed up in their work.
I think Minso can tell that I'm having a tough time holding it together, because her voice takes on a more sympathetic tone.
Was there anything else you wanted to know?
I don't think so. You told me everything I wanted to ask. I only found out their name a couple months ago. Until then, I just thought of them as my person in my head. So, really, I've learned a lot more than I could have hoped for.
Aww. Well, I'm happy to help. Your friend has my contact info, so you can message me anytime if you think of anything else. I guess if you think about it, you and I are kind of like family, right?
Kind of.
Since it sounds like they raised you just as much as they raised their kids, like my whatever.
Dude, we are not getting into that messed up family tree.
Really?
She laughs.
Sure, why not? The more the merrier, right? I think that's how they would have seen it too.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Family. I may have a girlfriend, but family is something new to me. Silver called us sisters, but just barely. It makes my heart warm.
No problem. I'm sure we'll talk again, so I won't say goodbye. Instead, how about see you later?
You want to explain your memory issue to them real quick?
I'd like that. Although, there's just one thing.
What's that?
I explain my magic and how everyone forgets me after one day. Nodding sympathetically, Minso agrees to join my list of people who check in with me every day. I'm glad she's so understanding, but it's just another reminder that I need to find a better, more permanent solution for people forgetting me. The second our call ends, I let out the sob I was holding back. I thought I was done crying over Chongin, but apparently not. Except this time, it's the good kind of crying. After all my searching, and even after their death, I finally got the answer to my question my heart wanted to know. They cared about me too. I tried to imagine what their home must have been like, their wife and their kids. I'm sure they were all smiles. Still, it's difficult for me to imagine how they looked. Instead, I can picture them, traveling just like when we met, going from place to place freely, wherever the wind took them. Just like me, really. Someday, I'd like to return to some of those places that I've been before and see them properly, instead of just blindly searching for one person and ignoring everything else. I'd like to visit them with some of the same wonder that Chongqing felt. More than anything, I wish I could tell them about what I've experienced, and learned on this path they sent me down. Even though I can't, there's one thing that I can say now for sure. They would have been proud of me. A few minutes later, I'm still trying to pull myself together when the dog comes up to me and paws at my leg insistently. I can't help but smile. Whatever. Whatever I'm going through doesn't matter to him at all. He just wants to eat or go outside, of course. My life and tears don't really make a difference to him one way or another. And really, that helps me keep me grounded. Is it though? I'm glad to have some closure when it comes to Chongqing, and to know that they were just the kind of person I imagined them to be. While their kindness and memory will never stop being special to me, I finally feel like I can say they're in the past. Time passed quicker than I could have ever imagined, but still passed, and moved on. And now, I need to, too. After wiping my eyes and blowing my nose, I stand up and the dog spins in an excited circle as I reach for the door. He runs right for the kitchen, stopping right outside the cabinet where I stored his food. His nose quivers and he huffs like a pig as he waits for me to catch up.
Didn't take you long to get used to this, did it?
He barks at me, just a single short yap, but I can imagine him telling me to hurry up.
Alright, give me a second.
I grab a clean bowl from the cupboard and scoop him out some dinner. As the kibble clatters onto the dish, he excitedly prances about, getting his snot into the bowl before it's even on the floor. His tail wags as he chows down, inhaling half his meal without even chewing. I reach towards him, but he growls at me with a mouthful of dog food.
Chill, I'm not taking it. I'd pour my own bowl if I wanted some.
Yeah, come on, show some respect here, dog.
Besides, I don't think I could stand the taste anymore.
It's a little, You wanna talk about it, mijo? Still, I keep my distance, just so I don't spook him. Finally, after he's done, he leaves the kitchen and heads right back up towards my room. He's gotten comfortable here much faster than I did. I wonder if it feels like home yet. You know? Let's keep going. After taking off yesterday, I sit down at the library desk with the dog for the first time. He does his usual pacing and sniffing, since this is his first time he's really explored this area. I keep an eye on him while I start on the day's tasks, but he just flops on the floor near my feet and dozes. Eventually, the first person who needs help comes up to the table, carrying a couple of books with them.
Hi there, I'd like to... Oh my god!
The sound of a new voice gets the puppy to stand up, and the lady across from me melts when she sees him.
He's adorable. Can I pet him?
Sure.
It's not really up to me. If he doesn't want to be pet, he'll just walk away. The next person to show up does more or less the same thing, and the person after them too. As the day gets later, the library gets busier. At least half of the people who come in to ask to pet my dog. I'm pretty sure some of the help requests I get are just excuses to come see him. He handles it all pretty well though, even leaving my side to go explore and visit with folk himself. A little... Hello, what's this? A little bit later though, after lunchtime, the front door opens slowly. I look up from the form I'm working on to see one of the last people I expected.
Silver!
She isn't wearing her mask, so I get a clear view of her face as she narrows her eyes at the name, but approaches me all the same.
Miho.
I haven't seen Silver since Halloween, after she gave back my scroll and disappeared into the night. More than once, I've thought about going up to Mount Victoria to look for her, but I haven't. I felt like I should give her some space after last time. She stops at the desk, standing across from me. Surrounded by books and other guests, plus being in broad daylight, she looks a bit out of place. A short bark from next to me startles her, and she blinks in surprise as the dog runs around the desk to stand at her feet and yap at her directly.
A friend of yours?
Something like that. I found him at the park, and I've been taking care of him for a couple days.
Hang on. And then next you'll say... Oh, I don't actually know what you would say.
He's a dog in the true sense of the word, then.
As far as I know, yeah, you finally got it right.
Her lips curl, but into a smile and not a sneer. Although she doesn't try to pet him, she looks down at the dog with some amusement. He stopped barking and instead sniffs her furiously, looking between her and me like he's trying to figure something out.
He seems happy.
You can read his aura?
No? I don't need to, though.
She also has little fangs. Deciding she's either bored or not a threat, the dog comes back to my side and lies down again, gnawing quietly on this chew toy. Silver looks back to me, but then her eyes narrow again.
Your bead.
Oh, yeah.
I take off my necklace and hold it so she can see the cracks starting to appear.
It started doing this a couple days ago.
Keeping her distance, she inspects it warily. In the palm of my hand where the bead itself sits, I can feel a faint pulse like a heartbeat, although it doesn't sync up with my own.
So not much longer, then.
Right.
It feels a little awkward to acknowledge, like I'm beating her in a race I didn't mean to participate in. But there's not any point in denying it either.
I'm kinda scared of what's gonna happen next, to tell you the truth.
Scared? Why?
Change, I guess.
Gung-ho. Sky Fox. Just thinking of the word summons visions of blue skies and rolling forests in my mind. The pulse in my palm quickens.
Hey, I have a question. What do you think would happen if I broke it?
Broke what?
This.
I hold my bead up closer, and she takes an instinctive half step backwards.
If I just crushed it or got rid of it instead of swallowing it. If that's even possible.
The spindly breaks that cover the bead make it look like it could fall apart at any second, even if a light wind could shatter it. Even if a light wind could shatter it. What? Huh. I can only imagine what Silver must be thinking. She's probably shocked that I'm even asking, but she keeps any scorn she's feeling off her face and finally shrugs.
I know not, nor why you would even consider such a thing. Though I have a guess. The magic within our fox bead is as much a part of us as our breath and blood. Perhaps there is no life without it. Or perhaps we'd be no different than beasts.
You mean you'd think I'd turn back into a fox?
Maybe. Maybe not. I couldn't say. I've never heard of any of her sisters ever trying.
A lump forms in my throat that I force back down.
I never thought of that. It makes sense though, huh? Since it was the bead that made me what I am.
She jabs a finger in my face, hand hovering over my necklace.
Shut up.
Excuse me?
Huh?
I only said it was possible. I doubt it would happen. Either way, how dare you? Your bead is but a means to an end. It may have given you a chance, but it was you who took it. Every step you've taken has been your own. It made you nothing but capable.
Silver holds her arm out, putting her shining bracelet into clear view.
Whoever or whatever you are now, you can never be a normal fox again, even were you to take the form of one. Still, what power your being does offer has been ever in your service. Should you choose to discard it, I fail to see why it wouldn't respect your final wish.
Up close like this, I'm able to see Silver's bracelet clearly for the first time. The light makes it difficult, but not impossible. Although my bead is plain and round, nearly identical to non-magic ones on my necklace, hers narrows at the middle and then widens again, like an hourglass. A few colorful bands run across it, almost too narrow to see. There's a red one, a blue one, and even a silver one. When I squint, I can even see a faint spring green one as well. There are others, but I can't see what they are before Silver shoves her hand back into her pockets, burying the light. Burying the light?! Yes, I see. Perhaps you need some motivation. I put my necklace back on.
Thanks. I feel a lot better hearing you say that.
I told you so. To think otherwise would be insulting.
In Silver's language, that's just how you say, "You're welcome."
Anyway, none of that is the reason I came here. I've come to keep my end of a promise. I'm leaving tomorrow.
Where are you going?
What? So soon?
The news hits me like a punch in the gut, even though she told me she was planning this a long time ago.
Soon? I've already stayed longer than I intended. There's nothing more for me to be had here.
That's not true. There's...
Nothing more to be found, I should say.
Abruptly, her voice softens. For maybe the first time ever, Silver's tone is gentle.
Your path may end here for now, but mine goes ever on. Perhaps someday it will come to a similar end, but not today, nor tomorrow. Surely you understand.
For as long as I've known her, I've hoped I could get through to Silver somehow. Help her see some of the things I was blind to myself. Especially now, as we're just starting to become friends. Or maybe now that we've been friends for a while. Either way, I wish you would stay. But also, just like how I've already vowed to let the dog go if he wants to leave, I know I can't keep her here. And just like with Aspen, as much as I might want to do more, all I can do is try to support her. The rest is up to Silver.
Yeah. I understand. I'm coming to see you off, though.
Silver considers for a second.
Fine. I'll come to you here in the morning. Early. Be ready.
Where are you going, though? Also, do you want a new name?
I will.
Good. I've said all I came to say then. Until tomorrow.
God, you're such a tsundere. Without another word, she turns and heads for the door, disappearing through it just like she disappeared into the trees. Okay, well, there we go. Judging by the knocking at my window, it turns out Silver and I have very different ideas of early. I roll over in bed, not totally sure that I'm not dreaming. In time to see Silver gesture at me and then leap from the tree again. A few minutes and a lot of eye rubbing later, I am ready and outside to meet her, with the dog staying behind me without any argument this time. Silver's carrying a small sack with her, which I assume contains all her belongings. It's tied shut with a small rope, and she slings it over her shoulder. God, you are like anime lancering it up real hard right now, aren't ya? We don't exchange any words of greeting. Instead, we just start walking. As frustrating as it can be half the time, sometimes I appreciate her willingness to just end a conversation, or not even start one. I don't have to worry about being a good enough conversationalist for her. It's easier to get more out of her silence than it is many others too. The fact that she let me come along on this last trip, much less came to get me, says a lot. God, why did I mess that up so bad? We make our way through the streets, not seeing many other pedestrians or even cars. Only a handful of city buses, a couple of them roaming around empty too. Silver walks faster than either Aspen or Juliet, but I'm able to keep pace easily. It makes our journey pretty short though. Dude, could you imagine? Okay, I might do like a quick edit in Photoshop to show you what I mean and post it here. But she could cut her hair like short and it would look really good. The glass walls and security gates of the skyport come into view, waiting for us. It was the first place to greet us when we arrived, and now it's ready to see her off again. I wonder what Silver's thinking about right now. Is she feeling sad at all and preparing to miss this place? Or is she ready to leave and potentially never return? Good or bad, I don't think she'll ever be able to forget her time in Wellington. We come to a stop just a few meters away from the entrance, facing the double glass doors. Our reflections stare back at us.
Call me Eunbi.
Unbi?
In Korean, Un for silver and Bi for rain. Silver rain, Unbi. Although she doesn't turn to me, I can see her face turn red in the glass.
Yes, it's the name I've settled on. What do you think?
I hope she sees me grin.
I think it's perfect.
Hell yeah, it is.
Good. Thank you. I'm not sure what words to say. I've never said goodbye before.
Hug it out.
It's okay. I never know either. I hope you'll come back someday. Or that we'll see each other again somewhere else.
Fate brought us together once. Perhaps it'll do so again.
So you think it was fate after all, huh?
Perhaps not.
She looks down at her wrists, surely thinking about her bead, even though it's hidden.
If not fate, then shall we make a promise that neither of us can keep?
You haven't broken a promise to me yet.
We'll meet someday then. Perhaps you won't even recognize me. I might be someone else entirely.
Someday. I'm sure that I'll recognize you, though. You might change, but you'll still be you, no matter what.
Even if I'm Eunbi now.
You've been Eunbi the whole time.
Like always, I can tell when she's about to leave. Before she can, there's something I have to ask. I might not get another chance.
At first, you didn't want me to call you Silver. With your magic, what does a silver aura mean?
Our eyes meet in the glass. Finally, she closes hers with a tiny smile.
Shame. Goodbye, Miho.
Oh my god, they're doing the bookends thing. This is the pose that Mio had at the beginning of this. Oh god, that's so good.
Goodbye, Eunbi.
It takes her just a couple of steps to reach the door. They slide open silently, dissolving our reflections. Eunbi doesn't look back when she strolls through, letting them shut behind her once again. I'm left looking at myself, and only myself. Finally, I turned around too and start making my way back home. And that's what we call it. We call it here. Look, I was gonna call it after like the dog thing, and then I was like, okay, nah, let's keep going. Then we had the whole thing with Chongying's family, and I was like, oh, okay, we gotta call it there. And now we have the Silver leaving and that bookend. Oof, that's nice. That's some good shit. As always, thank you for watching. And I'll see you again next time.